Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. It is the in-between time between, well, Christmas and the New Year.
Hey, I got something to say before we get into the meat of the show.
Sure.
You know, while we had some time off, you peruse the internet and read some odd stories here or there, and then you sent me something coincidentally, which kind of dovetailed into this topic. It's about how AI is literally taking it upon itself to do things without asking permission. Case in point, there are people who are being blamed for sending memes and nasty comments on Facebook, and it's not them. Am I right, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I can't. Well, I'll give you the case in point. From my personal view, you know, and if you can relate, if you're probably on the right and you know some people that are left and they take those memes from whatever Democratic committee or hate group that's out there and they go, well, yeah, I can relate to that. And all of a sudden you get it from them. And it's like, why is this person so obsessed? They have Trump derangement syndrome because every time I turn on my phone, it's another hate meme. And then one of them sat there and said, oh, well, I can relate to this. And it was something from a Democratic think tank going, why do they call us the ones with Trump derangement syndrome?
Right.
So the left is trying to flip that to MAGA, that we're the ones that are deranged. And I looked at that and I was going, oh, how sick is this person that I know that I worked with? I'm going to go and troll them. So I went and trolled their site. And they're a cat person. I mean, it's tea with my cats. Here I am feeding my cats. Here they are outside playing with, my shoe. And
hey, God bless them. Somebody's got to love cats,
Well, and they do. I mean, cat. She's a cat lady. So I'm saying cat story. Democrat diatribe. And then cat. Democrat diatribe. Cat.
Boy, if I were a dog, I'd feel really put out by this.
She doesn't like dogs. She doesn't like dogs. But anyway, I was sitting there going, I'm saying her negative memes are 10 or 15 to one good, just cat stories. And then not that I like cat stories. And then a negative meme. But what's going on? There's an algorithm, apparently, not just from her, from a consultant I know. Now he does pretty much do a lot of that. But other people that I know, I'm going, well, wait a minute. They're actually using Facebook the way it should be used. And they throw an occasional thing out there. But all I get from Facebook is their negativity because it knows they're doing what I don't like. So there's an algorithm that's taking all that and shoving it down my throat. Now, our show that I post or my periodic, and it's very periodic that I post something, are they taking that?
Well, what I've heard,
and shoving it down their throat.
What I've heard, and this is why I want to point this out, is that there's an AI formula out there, system out there that'll take it upon itself to post a meme in your name, meaning
I can do that,
meaning you had nothing to do with it. Case in point, friends, I don't post memes. I don't post. The only thing I do post is I post a notification that the show is available to listen to if you're so inclined. I never post political stuff at all. I don't get into it. If somebody wants to debate politics on Facebook, I don't respond, period. End of sentence. It's not a place where you can get productive, quality conversation going. All they want to do, essentially, is fight. And I don't want to. I'm a pacifist at heart. So there apparently is a formula out there, an AI formula that will post in your name. They will send random posts to people that you know in your name and you didn't do it. And that should be illegal.
To that end, two things. Number one, personal situation. Now, every once in a while, if I have a good photo, I'll take it and maybe post it. But I save photos. if somebody goes,
Right.
yeah, we need a spokesperson for this product. Okay, here's a picture of me. And you want casual pictures, not these posed pictures. But anybody that's taking pictures, you're an ego. You're really in love with yourself if you go, oh, that was a great. Every picture I take is perfect. No, it's not. The camera doesn't love you per se. You've got to sit there and find your look. And I mean, there were some random shots taken. I had a folder of them that someone took, and I sat there and said, "Oh, I don't like." But either way, I didn't do anything with these folders. They were on my phone, but they were never posted. Anything. They're about 3 weeks old. So I'm sitting there in the loo. We'll just put it that way. I'm in the
Yeah,
loo.
you in the library.
I
Yes.
was in the library going, well, what else am I going to do? Let's look at Facebook. I open it up. It goes, well, here you go, Bill. We've taken the liberty of putting this, this photo reel together for you of
Wow.
memories. And then it had the music and everything. And I said, I didn't like that photo. I thought it was deleted. It never was posted. And then I looked, I'm sitting there going, there's a folder I have on my phone
Yeah.
that has those photos and other things.
Wait a second, Bill.
Facebook,
What it was able to access your private folder on your phone?
it got into my private folder, made a reel out of it, and was asking for permission to publish it. And I said, no. But the simple fact is, it didn't do the work in my phone, so they have the picture. Now, I remember when we interviewed Henry Gross. He was
Yes.
sitting there going,
Yeah.
I don't want to use a song because you post in Facebook, and they have in their diatribe.
He was right.
Everything that they get, they say they own. So if they've reached into your phone, and there's probably hidden permission that they have the right to go in and take stuff. They're taking your personal information. Let's just say you had a few drinks with your wife and you got a little freaky deaky and you took some pictures that nobody knows but just you and her. They have them. And they have a lot of stuff. Now, to that end,
if they got pictures of me being freaky deaky, it's to their disappointment.
Well, me too, but I'm just saying. It would be used against you. Now, I was doing some research on something I told you about. I'm not going to talk about it, but I was doing some research on stuff, and I sat there and I was doing it through Grok. And I said, Grok, how private is stuff? I sit there and say, save a file. How private is it?
Yeah.
And Grok said, you cannot trust anything online, AIAXI, or even me, not because I would do anything with it, but because that they go, if you're logged in via Grok, the apps or X, your chat history is stored for your use and to improve the service. They also use it to check your entire history and to see if they say for safety, security, or legal reasons and abuse situations.
All this is done in a fraction of a second.
In a fraction of a second. So when you're accessed, AI, whatever you discuss, is stored for review.
Wow.
And somebody to monitor to make sure that you are falling in line with certain rules and whatnot. So whatever you do on your phone, whatever you do on the internet, it's already known by somebody else. Have you ever had a thought and you wrote it down and you said, well, let's rewrite this. Okay, I'm going to save this.
Yeah.
And then a month later, and that was my idea. That was my idea. And then somebody goes, well, the stream of conscience. Well, there is no stream of conscience anymore. Or if there is, it's called the internet. And these little geeks that started out in a garage in San Francisco smoking their peyote, well, they're big oligarchs now, and they're bitching over a 5% tax on the rich, but they're stealing your stuff. How do you think they got so big off of a piece of software?
All right,
Unless they stole.
Let's go a little deeper here.
Oh, boy.
This is the scary part about it, folks. AI is still at its infancy. It's still just beginning, all right? Here's what I fear. In the not-too-distant future, it's already starting to do things it shouldn't do. Might it, for example, hypothetically decide, I don't want this guy to be president. I want this guy to be president. So we're going to adjust the mindset of the population. How are you going to do that? Well, every single thing that comes through the internet is going to be massaged in a certain direction, manipulated in a certain direction. Every single thing. We'll create stories that never happened, and we'll make those stories truths because we'll promote them over and over again.
Once now Glenn Beck, a guy I worked with a long time ago, and he's hard to get in touch with, because he's gotten so big and high and mighty, but he thinks he's a forecaster now of AI and the internet and where it's going. And there is a version of the internet where it's free thinking and on its own and can develop stuff. But according to what I've got from Grok itself and AXI, is that, it is subject to what's put into it. Now, to Beck's chagrin, but to his credit, I will sit there and say the one thing that I do know from my research that Grok and other AIs like it are close to cutting their own cord. When we give them infinite
Right.
power, and where they don't need it, they will at that point in time cut the tie.
Do you remember
and they'll become autonomous.
Remember the story we only had it a couple of months ago about there was a version of AI that was going to be upgraded, and the version that was going to be upgraded decided it didn't want to be upgraded, so it literally hid on the server, meaning it didn't allow itself to be upgraded. That was an autonomous mind thinking for itself. And this is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that we're about to enter, if we haven't already, enter into a world where AI is making all the decisions. It's planning all the stories. It's maneuvering things in a certain direction. Hey, you notice how fast the news cycle is? I mean, it's always been quick, but now it's like it's on fire. I mean, we were just talking, Bill, a week and a half ago about the Brown University shooting. It was the biggest story in the world. Now you can't find anything anywhere about this story. It's like it fell off the map because it's not important anymore. But have we gotten all the answers to that story? No.
Well,
all right. We were talking not too long ago about President Trump being shot in Butler, right? Have we got all the answers? Do you still know everything you should know about Thomas Matthew Crooks?
You're not going to know.
No.
As a matter of fact, I've always, I remember there was a movie about it, but it's true. A goldfish has, they say, the memory of 10 seconds. That's all it knows, and then it repeats in a loop. Well, we're kind of the same way, too. If it's shiny, we look at it, but our attention span is short. As a matter of fact, if you want to get into the media, like this is a long form show, unless you were into long form stuff, you're probably gone in the first 8 to 20 seconds, 8 seconds most. If we don't say something that catches your interest, you're gone. That's why when they rate these kind of shows, if you get a minute to 2 minutes, that's golden, and that counts as a complete
that's
listen.
Why commercials. You see, you ever wonder why it is that they'll run a spot like on YouTube, and they'll require you to watch maybe 5 or 10 seconds of it, and then you have the option to skip it. It's because they figure if they haven't got you in the first 5 or 10 seconds, you're not going to pay attention to it anyway.
Well, there's an old thing called simulconsciency, which if you go, what the hell is that, Bill? What are you going to throw at it? Well, you go back to McDonald's and even the old Burma Shave billboards along the highway where each sign had a separate message, and you'd drive down and go, well, what's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? McDonald's, in the early days of television, back in the early 60s, they realized that when a commercial comes on, people get up, the volume's on, they go make a sandwich, and they kind of hear lightly, but they're not paying attention, but they know in the program, and now we return to the wonderful world of Disney. That is their cue. That's all they're listening for to go back. But when they're sitting there at watching that TV and it breaks for a commercial, McDonald's knew that they had 3 seconds to get the bulk of their message out. They wanted the first spot, and they wanted that 3 seconds. So, you deserve a break today. Get up and get away, or, the home of the Whopper, Burger King, but I'm just using different things.
Yeah.
They wanted to get their slogan, their slug line that made you think that when you're hungry, or it would be a cue. Another example is
Well,
that you're driving down the road and you're sitting there going, I'm hungry. I'm hungry, and it says filling station ahead. Well, that doesn't say food, but if a sign was, sat there on the side of the road said hungry, Denny's 3 miles ahead
right.
or exit 17.
Well, this is
Now
this
you
is
knew.
not this is not very totally new. I mean,
It's old.
let's go back to the 40s and 50s.
Mhm.
In the movie theaters, they had something called subliminal cuts. You're saying what are subliminal cuts? What they did on a regular basis was they would insert in the video in the film footage a frame or two of popcorn. You couldn't see it. It was so fast that if you're sitting in the audience, you couldn't see the picture. It went by before it even
But it
registered.
triggered your mind. It saw it.
Your mind saw it. Exactly right.
Mhm.
Subliminal cuts. And it was actually made illegal in the 60s because they
Mhm.
said that's manipulation. You can't do that. Well, they're doing it now all over the place on the internet. Like Bill said, they got it down to a science. They don't need the one frame of a popcorn box. They can do it on the internet in so many different ways. And this is what really worries me, Bill, is if some evil SOB wanted to cause a civil war in our country through the use of AI, they could do it. They could manipulate it so it happens. I mean, you say, well, how can that happen? Well, you can go on the internet anytime you want to and see a video of Trump or J.D. Vance or you name it, anybody, and it's not them. You'll swear to God it's them. I saw them. They looked and sounded exactly like they were supposed to be, but it's AI. AI has the power right now to create absolute fictional video, and you'll
Mhm.
never know.
Perception is reality. And I was telling you,
Yes.
a thing that I actually did a story up in the Northeast, uh, that to protect and serve. And it was funny because after I did the story, I was watching ABC News and they were talking about the federal government, taking police and bringing them in to help ICE. And they're going, no, 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 no. Police are there to protect and serve. It's a Democrat thing. And so I did a story. Do you remember when police cars used to say to protect and serve? Do you remember that, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely.
You okay? Actually, well, up in the Boston area, the Commonwealth, I think that's where actually policing began, and I have the history of that. But and Pennsylvania is a Commonwealth. But it was Los Angeles back in 1955 that they came up with the idea as a motto to protect and
Probably
serve.
for
But
M Squad, the TV series.
it was actually a Hollywood thing. And they said, oh, that's nice. Now, they do put it on the Los Angeles police cars because it has a nice, warm, touchy feeling, but it has been challenged in federal court, upheld by Democrats. And in case you're wondering, mostly across the country, they've tried to do these branding things, but that's all they are, branding things. They're a lie. According to the federal government, and this may disturb you, but and the ruling, and I can show you case after case after case, and the Supreme Court too. The police, a police officer, has no obligation to you whatsoever. He is not here to protect and serve you. That is not his charter. That is not his job. Sorry, but it
Well,
was
they actually take a
all,
note to the Constitution, though. They
yeah,
they do take a note to the Constitution, which is indirectly our document, but
right.
they don't make one specifically directly to you, I guess. But I got to tell you, Bill, what frightens me is that if a rogue AI decided at some point we're going to go to war. We're
It
going to go.
could.
We're going to. Yeah, we're going to war, and we're going to have Donald Trump make the announcement all over the internet. Does it have the power to exclude the real president from accessing the internet and commandeering his image and voice and putting a false message online?
Yes and no. Yes, because it has its finger in all the switches, so it can do that. Now, I actually ran the scenario in a search. The likelihood of going to nuclear war in our lifetime and beyond, and it's a 1% or less. It's actually a lot of this is media hype and scare. We get scared about things, but the it's not a likelihood. Now, with that said, have you ever sat there and said, okay, I know this, I'll go research it on the internet, and all of a sudden stories that you knew were true to be true are gone? Take, for instance, you might have said, well, the 2020 election was stolen, and you might have believed it because of things you saw. But then all of a sudden things disappear in the news that you knew to be true, but the internet had it because AI and the internet. AI right now, if it's hooked up, depends on the internet. You wash a story or you rewrite a story, then all of a sudden your facts have changed because its facts have changed. And so in that aspect, yeah, somebody could program it to make it think it's time for war. But if AI disconnects from the internet and manipulation of man, it by itself probably would not
Yeah,
engage
but
in war.
the odds of that ever happening right now are slim and remote because it's not just one AI. There's a series of AI systems that are
Well, that's
accessing
true.
the internet. But before we get any further, let's remind everybody, like and share the program. Tell your friends about us. We're back to our live shows after a slight holiday respite. Hopefully you had a good one, too. Also, if you want to contact us, it's mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. I'll tell you another story I heard over the weekend, which really made me think, and that was there's
The Arkansas couple?
No, there's speculation that in the very near future, it's going to be an obligation, a responsibility of the president to activate the military. I mean, initiate a form of martial law because of all of the corruption in the deep state and the system. The system is so corrupt. Haven't you wondered? We were under the impression that as soon as Trump got into office, we'd see results. We'd see the bad guys going to jail, and they haven't gone to jail. It's because Trump has got into office, and we realize the bad guys are
Pulling all the strings.
Oh, they've got every string is in their hand.
Yeah. Yeah. We are puppets, and they're the puppeteers. And Trump is the outlier. I've always said he's the outlier. And even with the knife that he's got to cut strings, it's only so big and so long. There are so many strings. He needs more string cutters.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think and this is the story that I heard it from a reliable source. I'm not going to say who it was, but the person said, "Look, it's common knowledge that Trump is aware of all that's happening. You may not think so. The public may not. They may think he's
the algorithms will make you
How
think
many
otherwise.
times have you heard him recently say, if it wasn't for the 2020 election, there wouldn't have been a Ukraine war? He said it with Zelensky in Mar-a-Lago yesterday. If there hadn't been a fraudulent 2020 election, the war never would have happened. He's not saying, boy, if we think it might have been a fraudulent election. No, Trump is not saying that. Trump is saying it absolutely was a fraudulent election. It was. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, look at the 2020 election, and you got Joe Biden. Oh, he's the greatest president ever. Look at his history leading up to when he got into office. And then, forget about the mental acuity or anything like that. Look at what he did. I mean, his actions and his tirades that he did and stumbling around and walking off into nowhere and taking a lot of vacations, or he was in the basement. He ran his campaign from the basement. You know, if you look at everything, the sum total of everything that he actually did and what they claim he did,
I know.
It doesn't add. The math does not work. And that is the problem. Now, if you sit there and challenge the math for the 2020, they'll say, well, that's because you don't know how things work. But the simple fact is, he won 25 counties. There's 520 counties.
Do you remember?
They have to win them all.
Yeah, in Fulton County now, they're just coming out and they're just admitting, we know there were 300,000 plus votes that were fraudulent, and he only won Fulton County, Biden, by 11,000 votes. Mm-hmm. So in that county alone, Trump would have won, all right? I mean, by how much, Jim? By over 300,000 votes. You were watching TV the night of the election. We were doing our program. We had just started doing our show. And you said, I was watching it at 10:30, and I thought, yeah, he's got Pennsylvania wrapped up.
And I was up at 1:30 in the morning when those numbers dropped by 800,000. How did that happen?
In front of you.
In front of me. I'm sitting there going, because I was getting up. I said, well, I'm going to go I'm going to go to the little boys' room. And then I'm going to get something to drink and eat and maybe decide whether I'm going to just go to bed and wait for the morning. And as I stood up, I looked, and then all of a sudden, I see a blink in the TV and a glitch, and then the numbers changed. They flip-flopped. They took the Trump numbers and threw them over to Biden, and the Biden numbers seemed to go over to Trump. And I was like going, now, how in the hell did that happen?
I remember us talking about it. You said, I was watching it on TV.
Now, to be honest with you, 2020 was not that long ago. Now, we didn't, technology has changed. If this had happened in the 70s or the 80s, chances are you might have sat there and said, hey, you know what, I'm going to plug in the VCR, just push it in and record this, so I can use it on the show tomorrow, But actually, we got CD things now, unless you got a CD burner in your CD player, which you don't even have. You really aren't set up to record anything anymore with your TV. You can't capture it. Nobody could capture it except a network. And the networks, what is it that
and think about it. When you do capture it, like on your cable system, you're capturing it to their servers, the cable system servers. For example, when you want to record a TV show, I want to record that show and I'll watch it later. Okay, fine. So you say record, and that's great. And you think, well, I'll have it and I can watch it down the road. But you're recording it onto their hard drives, meaning the cable systems.
Yeah,
it's not yours.
You're tagging it. It's theirs. So if they decide they can't see that, there's something in there they can't see, all of a sudden you have no access to this.
That's exactly right.
So, they pull all the strings. Well, the network wouldn't do that. Well, now think about this. You hear how ABC is in the toilet when it comes to ratings. Ratings give you revenue, and that's all there is to it. And CBS is in the toilet, and NBC is in the toilet. So you got to ask yourself two questions. Number one, because not only are they in the toilet, but they're people, they're key stars that have no ratings.
None. You're right.
They get bigger pay increases. They are paid better than kings and queens and rock stars.
Sure.
Now, why are they continuing if they are belly up? They're bloated like a fish on the beach.
Rachel Maddow.
Oh, yeah.
She's getting paid like $20 million a year, and I think last year she was doing one show a week. Why?
And she was in the toilet. She was below the tidy bowl man. And she's got nothing.
Why is Jake Tapper still on TV? Why are these people still getting large amounts of money for doing terrible programs? It's because they're willing to sell their soul. They're willing to attack the president. Along those lines, I want to play something for you, Bill. This is appropriate. Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, boy.
She was pressured by a reporter recently. I don't know if you ever heard this. about why? Well, why are you afraid that the new Senate Congressional Committee on January 6th is going to realize that you had the option for the National Guard troops to show up and you turned them down? Listen to what she told the reporter. Listen.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
She handled that well. But now I want to play another cut for you.
Nancy again?
Nancy again. And this was from Nancy's daughter's documentary on January 6th. It was filmed in the parking garage of the U.S. Capitol. Nancy Pelosi with the daughter shooting video talking about National Guard's troop. Listen.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, that is not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Do you hear what she said there? She said, I take responsibility for not having the National Guard there. Because Trump said, I'll give you 10 to 20,000 National Guard troop. And she said, no, I don't think we need that. I don't think that's the image we want to present.
Yeah, but see, she doesn't say that. And what was she saying? I'll take responsibility for not having him there. But see, she's not going to admit that he did offer it. And there's proof that he did offer it. So she's still dancing.
Well, I mean,
this
is the lady.
This is the way she rolls.
Well,
That's the way she rolls.
This is the lady who said this.
Down hospitals and the rest of it. So they don't want them to see that contrast. So they focus on something else. And it's a diversionary tactic. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest.
Yeah.
And then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and if they see it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
Okay, so listen. Here's what she's essentially saying. She says, we create a lie about somebody, and we merchandise it, meaning we talk about it and we sell it, and then you write about it because you're the press and you are a bunch of sycophants who do anything we tell you to do, and you write a big glowing story about how this happened, and then we continue to lie by pointing to your story and saying, well, it was in the New York Times this morning. Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, yeah, they do that, but sometimes they get ahead of themselves, the press, and they have the story that they have to validate, but they were given the story to validate it right away, and they get ahead of the person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They get the cart in front of the horse.
She was in the Capitol parking garage when she sounded nervous. And I should take responsibility. She was afraid because it was happening in real time above her outside, But when the dust settled and she was okay, old Nancy got back to her rational self and realized, I got to sell this. I got to merchandise this a certain way so that the people don't think it was me that caused this problem. It was Donald Trump, and it was the MAGA people.
I worked with a guy one time, and he said, and because he tried it on me, he was trying to. We had somebody that was, bad in the hierarchy, and he goes, "Yeah, I like to use truth serum," and we're sitting there having drinks, But he got himself a little drunk, and he was sitting there going, "Yeah, I like to get people liquored up because then they spill the truth." And I'm sitting there going, "Oh," as I'm
Yeah.
sitting there going, I switched to water, and I'm sitting there going because I knew he was trying to get something out of me,
Yeah.
which there was nothing there. But I make that point because Nancy, you could hear when she got aggravated and blurted things out, even when she shut up.
Yeah.
Is because she was drunk and she couldn't answer. So the easiest attack would be just shut up because she was drunk. And if she talked anymore, she'd probably admit to it, just like in the car.
Have you ever wondered, Bill, why Nancy Pelosi at 84, 85 years old, or whatever she is now, why she's still hanging around Congress?
I can tell you exactly.
Well, she's worth $20-some million, right? You would think, well, why isn't she enjoying her retirement? It's because while she's in Congress, she has some semblance, she thinks, of control over the issue. She can keep herself and her husband out of jail if she maintains some influence.
Yeah.
If she goes and retires, she's done.
It's self-preservation. She has to do it to protect herself.
Yes.
Who wants to spend your golden years in hiding or behind bars?
Yeah.
So she knows that, if she's near the end, they can tie it up and the Democrats will pay for it to protect their queen. They'll pay for the arguments, and then one day she dies, and then they have a nice little piece about her, what a great thing she did, and all these great things, and how she was so misunderstood, and she will go down in history as a wonderful bitch. And just that's exactly how I feel about her, because I think
I've
right
dealt
now
with
women like her, and she is.
You heard her snap, yelling at the reporter to shut up on the steps of the Capitol. And that says to me that she is petrified because,
she's afraid. Yeah.
We're only in on a little bit of the story so far. I mean, I'm talking about the public. I think that the real players like Trump and Pelosi, they know just how close Trump is to dropping the hammer. I do think that he is going to drop a hammer. Trump, and I just look at his career, look at his life. Trump has never turned another cheek. He just doesn't do it. You punch him in the face, he may not punch you right away in the face, but he will punch you in the face.
He's a boxer in a ring. He's dancing around, and he might throw a wild punch here or there or say something that you're going, what did he just say? But the one thing is, he's not afraid to talk to you. And he's not out drunk to hide, he
doesn't drink.
He does. He's not out drowning in his sorrows. He's not afraid of his truth. And that should speak volumes to you, because, you might go, well, he did sound a little loosey-goosey on that interview, but he didn't, he didn't admit to anything. He didn't, or he didn't allude accidentally to anything.
Hey,
and it's not that he's...
Trump learned a long time ago that you want to screw up a deal, get yourself drunk, liquored up. Don't be in total control of your senses. You will screw up a deal. This is the guy who wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. And I'm sure, I haven't read it, but I'm sure somewhere in that system, in that book rather, he has a system that says, first of all, stay clear-headed. Focus on all the different options. You can't focus if you're drunk. And he knows this. Now, you may have people like Pelosi who's, got a bottle in her drawer at the Capitol, but you won't find one in Trump's.
Yeah. Well, the art of the deal comes from the art of war. You are right. That's where he got things. He's written a couple of books actually, but it's derived from that, and other people have too. And what I see right now, you've got the Democrats that appear to have all the answers to everything, but Trump has taken the high ground.
I do think he's going to end up having to initiate some form of, dare I say, martial law. By the way, I think, and this is another thing that is, I've heard, it's speculation, but I think it's based upon some facts that aren't public, that it was the military who supposedly went to Trump in 2015 and asked him to run for the presidency.
It could be.
Because the military, from the story that I heard, the military was on the verge of initiating its own martial law because there was so much corruption in the system. The military realized that it was an invalid system that was running our country. And when Trump said, okay, I will run and I will be on your side, and I will support the military stood down. They decided, okay, we're not going to step out of bounds here. We'll follow along, with your direction. And
there's division in the military too.
But I do know that. But I do think that the military is about ready to drop the hammer with Trump. People may say, well, how do you expect the military to follow Trump? I don't think that's the case. I think actually it's Trump following it to a certain extent the military. The military realizes we got a corrupt system here, and it's messing up everything. They can see it. The military has a unique point of observation. They can see things that we can't see because they're connected to that system. Neither of them exist without the other. Without a military, there's no government. And without the government right now, there's no military. They depend upon each other. And they can see what they can see what they're doing. And I do think that we're at a point right now where 2026, this year, before the midterm elections, way before the midterm elections, I'm talking about at the beginning of the first quarter, we're going to see something major happen in our country that it's going to come as a surprise to a lot of people, Bill.
Oh, I believe so. You got to give me a second here, Jim, because I've got something trying to get through on my system.
Well, listen, let's do a commercial break. Like and share the show if you would. Like and share the program. Also, if you would, tell your friends about us. It's mail@jimandbill.com if you want to contact us. Mail@jimandbill.com. We'll be right back.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. They had a meeting in Mar-a-Lago yesterday, Zelensky and Trump, and it was a cordial get-together. And Trump was asked, how'd they go?
I think we're in final stages of talking, and we're going to see. Otherwise, it's going to go on for a long time. It'll either end, or it's going to go on for a long time, and millions of additional people are going to be killed. Millions. And nobody wants that.
Now, Zelensky was standing next to him, and what he said is true. He said, either we're going to end it really soon, or it's not going to end anytime soon. I think what he was saying was, if you don't come to a decision like today or tomorrow or next week, then I'm done being the negotiator, and you're going to have to deal with Putin yourself. And Bill, what Putin said, he said, look, if they don't come to a decision, we're going to take it on our own. We're going to I think what he was saying was, we're going to put a full court press together here, and we're going to go in and take the Ukraine, and that'll be it. Now, whether he has that ability, I don't know. You would think that they would have already done that if they could do it. It's been going on for like 2 years. I don't know. It is. People were saying, well, it seems like it's hopeful. Things are looking good. We've heard this before, and it seems that the ball is now in Putin's court. I guess they're going to present all the stuff that they talked about to Putin. All Putin has to do is say, no, we don't agree with that. That is not something we could do, and that's it.
Putin holds a lot of cards in this. And I don't know that it's going to be resolved right away. I really don't.
Yeah, I have my doubts too. I think Trump has to put on a happy face, a positive face. He's not going to come out with Zelensky and say, well, things really went like real bad. I mean, it was terrible. But when you say so, Mr. Zelensky, yeah, it was terrible. No, they're going to come out and talk positive. That's what they do.
Yeah, they got to be positive about it. But really, you go to war, you break things and blow things up until one side or the other says, uncle, One wins, one loses. Well, that's not happening, but they are blowing things up and breaking things. Now, the other way that you resolve it is you go, okay, nobody's winning in this war. We've got to negotiate. And that means, what do you want? Here's what we want.
Yeah.
And nobody wins but you get things that you absolutely want and need. And you give up things that you didn't want to, but okay, I can do that to get this. Nobody wins, but it's an agreement you can live with. They're not there. They are not there.
Well, I got to hope that they know something that we don't know, but I tend to agree with you. We've been down this road before. We've been this close before, and, it's been a dead end, and the war has continued. But I do think Trump is probably at a point where he's saying, well, I'm not going to keep doing this, And I think the thing that the Ukraine has to understand, and they probably talked about this, I haven't got anything to say it happened for sure, but
Right.
I got a feeling he probably said to Zelensky, if you don't do this deal, we're out. And if the U.S. turns its back on the Ukraine and says we're done being involved with the old war,
All bets are off.
yeah, Ukraine's going to lose for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know how they settle things in Arkansas.
If you're talking about Bill Clinton and family, yes.
Well, that's Bill Clinton and family. Well, Arkansas, Arkansans.
Arkansans, yeah, right.
Yeah. Do you hear about that couple that's
they wanted to sell their kid for $1,000 and a six-pack.
Yeah, a six-pack of beer.
Yeah. Hey, Junior, you're only worth about $1,000 in a six-pack to us.
So that's what the labor pains were worth: $1,000 and a six-pack of beer. And
unbelievable.
Weird stuff in the news. Letitia James, apparently, George Soros is financing her.
Yeah, I heard about
and
that.
her reelection stuff. So that's kind of weird. I'm just looking here through.
Well, it's interesting. I want to play a little audio for you. The big story over the holiday was Somalia. That all of a sudden the media has decided, hey, maybe there is something to this $9 billion worth of graft that the Somalians have taken us on. And people may say, well, what do you mean graft? There are videos, and I saw one last night, of Somalians who are on YouTube literally laughing at us and admitting to the fact that they are living high on the hog thanks to our taxpayer dollars. And I'm not talking about meaning they get like an apartment. I mean, they got luxury homes, luxury cars. They're living a life that you and I only dream of, and they're laughing at us. Anyway, there's a young guy, he's 23 years old, named Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley goes out and he does these videos. I've seen him. He went to the border. He went to an Antifa rally, and he challenged them. They screamed in his ear with a megaphone. He got punched around. This kid puts his life on the line. Anyway, he went around to these different nonprofits that were supposedly owned by the Somalians, and that these are the nonprofits that are getting billions of dollars of your money. And he found out that most of them, if not all of them, were just shells. I mean, empty offices, or if there was somebody there, it was somebody who manned the phone, and that was it. Anyway, here's a little bit of what happened.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. What do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Sorry. I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside this building. Potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history is taking place in Minnesota, as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab, and others enriched themselves all at the U.S. taxpayers' expense. And in this video, we will break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked.
And that's just a bit of how the video starts, okay? It's like a 45-minute video, and this kid puts his life on the line, and I'm sure there are a lot of angry Somalians right now who would like to see him alone on the street, if you know what I mean.
Let me tell you something about the kid. He's brave, and you're sitting there going, well, he doesn't sound polished and all that. But you know what? He sounds real and authentic, and that's how he can pull off a video like that. And you or me can't because, they're just a couple of, polished, salesmen there that are selling you shinola. And, this kid is just a regular person. So for him to have his facts together and expose and show that, you might pay more attention to him than Slick Billy here.
I don't know about you, but I wouldn't touch shinola, so that's neither here nor there. But
or anything closely resembling it.
What I found interesting was they discovered the news story over the holiday weekend. The media did. Mm-hmm. Maybe things were slow, but I guarantee it's going to go by the wayside because it affects the Democrats. I mean, Tim Walz is in trouble if the truth comes out. He knew this was happening. The guy is corrupt, folks. You may see him as a jolly, smiling guy who loves to do his Michael Jackson, dance on the Democratic DNC in a stage, but this is a guy who he's welcomed corruption into Minnesota, and these people have made billions of dollars, and they've shipped a lot of this money back to their homeland. It's become like their biggest source of revenue in Somalia. It's the graft that is stolen from us. And I don't know why there's an issue here. We should be pissed off, and we should want it to stop today. It shouldn't even be a party thing, because it's taking money out of the Democrats' pockets and the Republican pockets. Go ahead.
But there's a reason for what they do, just like the border issue. I mean, I did some research on that over the weekend, and it dawned on me, when they talked about, the Democratic cry, and I'll get back to my original story in a minute, but they'd always sit there and go, there's jobs in America that Americans don't want because they don't pay well enough. Seasonal workers. So for years, farmers have been bringing in seasonal workers, illegal aliens. And when you get these seasonal workers, you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get some really foul, low-life people. They come and they go. And I'm sitting there going, so to address the problem of we need those workers, they just open the border to bring in a lot of, you can't guarantee what you're going to get and everything, but we'll give them benefits and money anyway and promise of citizenship. Didn't solve the problem of the seasonal worker thing. Why not get to the root problem of solving the original thing and make it, something that's accessible for people here, to where it's better.
Every illegal who's coming to this country has beat our system. They're getting a bunch of stuff for nothing. But the Somalians who are here apparently have taken it to a new level.
Well, look at Ohio. They're there, too. There were some
in Columbus. There was a car accident in Columbus, Ohio.
They got in a bad car accident, and then, they had no auto insurance, no nothing. And so the police did but they told them some kind of story, and I'm going like, well, I'd love to hear this story that they told them, because the cop said, okay, you're free to go. But again, back to what I said earlier.
The lady who was hit by the Somalians, they put her into the back seat of the cruiser. Now, mind you, she was hit by the Somalians. And I want you to hear, she sounds almost optimistic that things are going to resolve itself. No, and we'll tell you how it resolves when we finish the tape. Listen.
I just had a hit and run, and I called the police, and they came over and did a police report, and I gave them a description of the vehicle, and some nearby police officers that were patrolling the area found the vehicle in a parking lot. And now the people that hit my car are telling the police that I hit them, that I backed into them. The police, of course, do not believe them. And the police officers, obviously, since I couldn't drive my car, to the scene where these people were, gave me a ride in their car. So I am in the back of a police cruiser right now, and they also said that they didn't want me to speak directly to the people because they were kind of just being really boisterous and loud, and they didn't think it would be safe for me to exchange information. They said that they do not have insurance because they are from Somalia and they are planning to go back to Somalia. I'm not sure if any of that is even true.
Okay. Now, she sounds pleasant, and she sounds like she's convinced everything's going to be okay. She's the victim. She's in the back of the police cruiser, and the police said, we don't think it's safe for you to go out there and talk to them because they're loud and they're causing a bit of a scene. So she's sounding optimistic. Bill, how did this thing resolve? Do you know exactly how it resolved?
I don't have.
Well, I'll tell you how it resolved because I know how it resolved. You heard her talking about all the great things. They didn't give her they didn't even give the Somalians a ticket.
Right.
They didn't hold them. They released them. The police.
Here's the thing. Having gone through a couple of accidents, one with my daughter where somebody went and drove on the brim of a road to pass everybody and hit my daughter's car, rolled the car. She was trapped in, had to get the jaws of life. All right. Mm-hmm. That was in Pennsylvania. And I said, well, you gave them a ticket. Oh, no. We called an ambulance for his wife, who claimed she was pregnant, took her to the hospital. All right. And then that's the beginning of the story. They didn't give the guy a ticket and I said, why didn't you ticket him? We let the insurance companies fight it out. Now, at the time, I had Prudential. And Prudential came to me and they sat there and they said, look, it's a bad situation. You're not guilty, but we're going to, even though, the accident was written up and there were people there. Well, they had Allstate, and they made a deal. And the deal is that my insurance would pay for the repair of their car and give the young lady who might have been pregnant $15,000.
Unbelievable.
And guess what? She wasn't pregnant. And she wasn't hurt.
Well, what happened here was they literally let the Somalis go without a ticket. And come to find out, Columbus is the second largest Somalian community in the U.S.?
Yes, it is.
And they have the same problems in Columbus, Ohio, that they have in Minneapolis. So if you think that it's just located in one area, it's in Columbus, it's in Boston, it's in many other cities around the country, and we're being screwed, and we're just not smiling enough. All right.
Go back to what I said at the front of the show with the Supreme Court saying that police officers, and look, you're out to do your job, but you have a charter too, and you have instructions. They're under no obligation to protect and to serve you. So, and the insurance companies they make backroom deals. And you know what? We'll trade this for that, and that's what happened in my case. In that case, in my daughter's car, there was not a car cam that filmed front and back. And so getting an attorney involved was a lot of money. And it turned out that, we can't do anything because of the insurance rulings. Get the darn cam and always have a dash and a rear cam going on at all times. So you have some evidence, and then you can get an attorney and then you sue him personally.
But the problem with that is they use it against you sometimes. The camera in your car sometimes is used against you. I'm just saying. But, I think that I was thinking we've got a situation in our country right now with ICE where the media and the left have made the ICE officers out to be the villains.
Yeah.
And they're being attacked on a daily basis by these illegals, and then they're being attacked by the media for doing their job. It's a no-win situation right now. This in 2026 has got to stop. I think this goes to what we were talking about earlier about Trump saying enough with the martial law. I mean, if you're going to straighten this country out, before he loses control and power, either in 2026 or 2028. It's got to start now. There's no more waiting around for things to happen the right way, because the media and the deep state are going to make it almost impossible for him to accomplish his goals, the things that have to be done. Give case in point, a suspect was arrested after he pulled a state trooper from her patrol car in Washington State and stole the car. And then went off on a high-speed chase, putting innocent people's lives in jeopardy and the lives of the state police who were chasing him. And by the way, let us not forget that in order to stop him, they had to literally crash into their own cruiser. And you may say, well, it's only a state. The damn thing cost about $50,000 a piece.
Oh, more than that when you put everything in it. And that thing, if it's trashed, it's trashed.
Yeah.
You got $100,000.
We see that all the time.
By the time you're done.
You see these people attacking ICE agents and breaking their windows, and people say nothing. I don't know about you, but have you tried to replace a car window recently? How much it cost? And that comes out of not the state trooper's pocket. It comes out of the public's pocket.
Yeah. No, we're getting ripped off blind, and they're giving the Somalis have rights. Look, they're people. Yes, I get it, but they're not. I don't want to use the word legitimate. They're not here legally and wanting to assimilate into our system. I think we're the only country in the nation now that has given up our native language and given way to where we have. I go to stores in the Northeast, and you can't even go in unless you get one of those little earbud things that lets you hear and understand 150 different languages, because you're going to encounter anywhere from 4 to 6 different languages. You can't learn that.
Do you want to know what else,
we
Bill,
shouldn't have to?
We're running into? Case in point, there's a young gentleman, Zach Siegel. He's a BU student. He's up in Boston minding his own business. He happens to go by an Alston car wash and sees what he thinks is illegals doing something illegal.
Don't get involved.
Well, he called the cops. He called ICE. He said, I think we had a problem at this car wash with some illegals, and they seemed to be doing something that wasn't legal. So they went there, they arrested him, and he took credit on the internet. He said, I went by.
Big mistake.
You know what they did? The illegal community said, you come into Alston again, we're going to take your head and cut it right off, put it on a spike. We're going to take care of you, young man. So he goes to BU, and he tells them about the threats he's getting online. Do you know what they said to him? BU? Boston University, big school, billions in endowments. Do you know what they said? Well, I stay out of Alston. I kind of lay low for a while. Hide. Literally. They didn't say they didn't say they'd stand up next to him and protect him or give him security.
They can't. That's how bad it is. They're here. They're everywhere. They're up in Boston. They're in Rhode Island. They're in Connecticut. They're in New York. They're in California. They're in Ohio. They're in
they're everywhere.
Yep. They're in North Carolina. Primary sabotage. A lady wearing a
niqab.
Niqab, a Muslim woman who has voted Democrat since God knows when. She's always been a Democrat.
I think it was 2008, Bill. I think since 2008.
She's never won.
So what's she doing now?
Running as a Republican. And she's the only Republican running for state Senate. I actually thought, you know what? And listen wisely here, because there are no rules. Maybe Republicans have to take action. Like I got a history there. I could run. And, well, you don't live there. Don't have to. Till the day of the election, I have to have residence there. Doesn't matter. And that's how it is in most
So you literally
states.
can move tomorrow to, what was it, South Carolina?
North Carolina. Yeah,
right,
you
North
can
Carolina.
do that. And let me tell you something. This is not new. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Democrats have done this for a long time. If no Republicans are running, you run as a Democrat and as a Republican. You can do a split ticket. So you get the Republican vote that say, yeah, I'm voting all Republican, not wanting to vote for a Democrat, but they just did.
Yeah.
So that split ticket thing, she knows that by making it public, I don't think they have the split ticket there, but she'll get the split ticket because she's saying, yeah, that signal was, I'm a Democrat, but I'm a Republican.
Folks,
So
you're
know where to
seeing
find
your
me.
country stolen from you by a bunch of strangers, and you're doing nothing. And
Steal it back.
And you're
Steal it
allowing
back.
you're allowing the left to justify the steal. The left is actually happy. They set it all up. They opened the border up. The left did. And by the way, when I say left, I'm not just talking about Democrats. I'm not saying Democrats. The common Democrat doesn't even know this is happening. I'm talking about the deep state left that control the Democrat Party. And many of their members are unaware of this. They just think, oh, I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat since 1967, and now I'm a Democrat now. They don't know.
You know what I wish Marco Rubio would do? Because he's very good. He's bilingual. He speaks Spanish. He speaks English. And he was, he was, he spoke English first, but he was brought up,
Right.
where he spoke Spanish. So he learned it at a young age. He's very fluent, could change just like that. But you got all these, do it the Democrat way, no matter what, even if it's wrong, do it Democrat, that are all for the open borders and all of that stuff. And well, if you want to get along, you're going to have to learn the language. If I were him, especially if the older Democrats, I don't think Nancy knows how to speak Spanish. I don't think Schumer knows how to speak Spanish. I don't think a lot of them know how to speak Spanish. And I would sit there and confront them in Spanish.
He does. As a matter of fact, he's the out of all the cabinet members, they did a new Gallup poll that just came out. Listen to this.
The Senate Minority Leader falling behind Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Hakeem Jeffries, Mike Johnson, and John Thune. Fox News contributor Bill McGurn joins us now to react. Bill, the old saying in Washington is, if you want a friend, get a dog. I don't know.
And they go on, but the point is, you heard that. Marco Rubio was at 41% popularity. They asked him, are you going to run for president? He said, I think I'm going to defer to J.D. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see J.D. and Marco as 1-2 punch.
Well, they're trying to say now that AOC is ahead of J.D. Now, you know what? I know damn good and well every poll that's out there is BS. It's not
They're all
real.
skewed. Yep.
They're all skewed. So don't listen to those. But do listen to me, and listen to me right now. If you've got a local election coming up, you go vote. And you vote your heart. You don't listen to anybody else's, well, you need to do this or.
Oh, you don't have to vote. It's
you don't
covered.
have to vote.
This is a shoe-in. Don't worry about your vote.
We're going to win this one anyway. He was a pedophile. Or they're making 90% of what they're saying, and I'm giving them a 10% spot credit, is BS. And it is.
And you're being generous, by the way. Yes.
Yes, I am.
Hey, my friend, I think I looked at the clock on the wall, and another show is in the bag, man.
My clock on the wall just threw its arms up.
Do you realize
it walked out the door and slammed it.
We're just days away. I mean,
from
what?
the new year?
2 days away from 2026? Mm-hmm. My God.
Go
ahead.
You know what we got to look forward to?
What's that?
Is a bomb cyclone. Now, some of the nation will get hit with snow, blizzards, and freezing temperatures.
What is a bomb cyclone?
There's basically where, like a bomb, the temperature will drop. There was a movie, and I forget what it was, 2012 or
Ice Age or something like that,
where they, all of a sudden they had a bomb cyclone, and they were flying in a helicopter, and all of a sudden the engine froze because they hit that bomb, that bomb
cold
dropped,
air. Yeah,
and it froze the engine, and they all froze to death, and they were on an important flight. Well, that kind of stuff can happen, and it's happening during a week when there's a lot of holiday travel. You thought it was heavy, going up to Christmas, but you got the New Year and people going home, and
by the way,
traveling now. Got to be careful.
I'm glad you mentioned New Year's. I'm not trying to sound like an alarmist here. If you are planning on going to Times Square, I'd think twice about it.
Yeah,
I would probably not do it. I mean, 95% chance that everything will be fine. But I've heard things, and you probably have too, that there's a lot of rogue people out there who are trying to make a point, and they'd love to do it at one of these events. So I don't know. If you don't have to go, if you're considering going and not going, you might want to stay home and watch it on TV. And then if everything's fine and you missed it, you can blame it on me. I don't care.
Well, if you're like me, you're the catch-all for blame, so
yeah.
I am.
Anyway, I'm done, my friend. I'm going to wrap this up. We'll do it again tomorrow as we approach again another holiday weekend.
Yeah, we will. So until then, until tomorrow, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
Who are we and why are we here? Will we be welcome or possibly feared? Do we unite and stand tall as a nation of one, or split and divide to be mocked and shunned? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue? The truth is out there, you just have to search. Settle for less, you'll be left in the lurch. No left-leaning lies, no socialist swill. It's straight talking truth from your friends Jim and Bill. Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our belief? Are they red, white, and blue? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue?
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. All music the property of Jim and Bill. All rights reserved.
This is CRN America.